Hello, everyone. Welcome to Science, Technology, and Society. I'm Sir Kenneth Porio from the Georgie Ilagan International Schools. We greet our students from JIB College of Business and Tourism and Institute of International Culinary and Hospitality Entrepreneurship. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us in this live YouTube video premiering today as we continue our discussion on science technology in your life, which is part of our first module, the introduction to STS studies. So I hope you are doing well and you are now signing in to our YouTube comment section. You are chatting with us, uh, recognizing your attendance in this video and interacting with us through this video. So, by the way, if you are uh, not yet subscribed to my channel, subscribe button is the key. And if you are insisting, if you want to be updated with my latest videos, my latest uploads, why not uh, see that bell icon over there? Click that and click that button and uh, change it to all notifications. So you will be notified on everything I'll be doing on this channel. Okay, so we're continuing our discussion on uh, the introduction to SCS studies, which is all about science and technology in your life. Okay, so we have thought about this, we talked about this since our last asynchronous video, and we just already discussed on how technology can influence your life. It can be contributory to your life. It can contribute and can benefit your life. Okay, so let me continue with the slides that I have been showing to you ever since that previous video we had. So if you haven't watched that previous video, I might show that in here, in the upper part of this video. Okay, so first is to discuss and explain interactions between STS, discuss the importance of how scientific and technological developments affect the environment, and identify paradigm shifts in history. All right, so we already talked about differentiating science and technology, relating science, technology, and society, give examples of recent developments. And now, this time, we'll be inferring how science and technology can be used for the benefit of humanity. That's why we'll be discussing some positive and negative effects, just to beef up the discussion on how science and technology can affect us. All right, so but before that, for those who are watching currently for 2021, okay, this is our prelim examination. It will be happening on Wednesday, May 5th, 2021. Our coverage of this preliminary exam will be on the first module, this first module, Introduction to STS Studies. So I'll be sending over the slides later on as we end this part of the discussion, part of this module. So please study these, especially with some discussions on science, definition of science, technology, and some of those cases that we have seen, like the let's call that the beliefs, superstitions, and all of that that don't have scientific basis and do have scientific basis, and also our discussion on science and technology in your life. So, what will appear on your prelim exam? So as this particular course is heavy on higher order thinking skills, very much into um, discussion type answers, maybe. So, uh, all of the items in your exam will be on an essay form. So, this will be 50 points. The total exam will be 50 points. Then each question will be worth 10 points. So again, examination will be conducted through Microsoft Teams. Okay, so again, that will be next week. And also reminding you of your formative assessment for this term or for this particular grading period, your plant growing blog. Again, I'll just run through the instructions again. You need mungo seeds, containers, garden soil, and cardboard box. Okay, so again, you have two subjects of your experiment, A and B. So your subject A will be having 10 seeds, the other one, B, has 10 seeds. So you will have to water it. Again, I remind everyone to water your mungo plants. If you haven't had uh, watered your mungo plants, remember this is an experiment that we have to assess at home, and we have to do it quickly as soon as you have planted your mungo seeds. Okay, so again, uh, just a reminder, at the third day, hopefully this is the third day of your experiment, place can A where sunlight is available. And for B, place it in a cardboard box or something hidden, something that sunlight doesn't reach. If you don't have cardboard box or something like that, you can use a shelf that doesn't have direct sunlight over it. Uh, that would be an alternative. That's a good alternative. If you don't have any cardboard boxes that you can use, you can also use a shelf that doesn't have access to sunlight. Okay, so observe those plants every for the next 3 days once you have placed those cans in their respective areas. So please observe that if they have grown or they have sprouted seeds, the seeds have sprouted. So let record those if you can. If you can take pictures of that, if you can do it. So remember, this is an experiment. This is a simple home-based experiment, but in your output, the way you will present this data that you have gathered from your plants, again, this will be done in a blog form, a video blog or a written blog, no, blog or essay. Now, the guide question that I have posted here is, what can you conclude from the results of the experiment? Okay, so again, include pictures of the plants, and please send your output to MS Teams as soon as you have finished doing your observations. So deadline is your next synchronous meeting, which is next week. Okay, so uh, as soon as you are able to complete the observations after 3 days of seeing your Mongo plants, do it. No, that will be good. Okay, so we have discussed already most of the topics on science in your everyday life, no, and much of which is centered on the technological developments of everything that we have, like for example electricity or transport, like the jeepney and the bus. How how did it contribute to our everyday lives? And we have seen Mr. Our virtual instructor, or virtual teacher for this asynchronous session, um, Mr. Manuel, uh, Mr. Miguel, rather, Mr. Miguel, I forgot his name. But yeah, we can uh, we can see through the slides that we have seen here last in the previous video that we have seen all of these developments as a testament to how technology has changed our lives, like computers. Me as a computer science graduate, I have witnessed everything. No, I witnessed everything, even in those very short 4 or 6 years of my college life. That as time's gone by, technological advancements have further improved the way we use technology, and that's a good thing. Okay, so may I want to mention also how technology has improved us in terms of how we define it. No, for example, no, again, we go back to that definition of technology. I'll just run through the slides. Again, technology is an applied science. And again, in terms of etymology, we've seen that it comes from that word technologia, which means systemic treatment of an art. So once we get through this thought of, wait, art, why are we um, discussing science here? Remember, if you go into the early ages, if you saw that slide last video, um, I've shown you that technology was reserved for those skilled workers, tanners, boaters, those who make clothes makers, tailors, all of these people who have skills, So, and these people can create so-called art, and their work, they can do art. And for some, when we do a systemic treatment, systemic analysis, systemic uh, study of this art, like you form a particular process that becomes technology, or technologia in Greek, right? So, tandaan nyo yan, diba? So, okay, so let's mention back those scientists that derive their studies, derive their innovations from the studies of previous scientists. Remember, so Thomas Alva Edison is one example. Um, he created that incandescent light bulb based on the studies that he has gathered from the works of Michael Faraday and Joseph Henry. That's a key there. Then technology is always based on previous works. Creating technology and creating science is always like that art that analyzes, treats those works from previous scientists and create a marvel or invention out of it. Okay, so that's one good thing, no, when we see those technologies. No, let's go back to this slide. Okay, so in this slide we have told you that all of these technologies, all of these like aircraft, mobile phones, telecommunications, railways, um, medical devices, these are all products of technology. And we can always mention numerous technological marvels, okay? Like the television, the radio, um, paper, for example, or clothing, or even your um, even the food that you eat. There's this thing called food technology that you might not realize. For those who are hospitality or culinary students, you might not think, oh, I'm a culinary student. Where's technology in these things that we have? Remember, just to give you a point, the food that you prepare, these ingredients, these materials that you have, are also technological marvels. Remember, for example, for instance, you have, say, this stick of butter that you cook with your you saute with your ingredients, no, the butter. So butter is basically a marvel of technology wherein when butter was discovered, it's basically just churning milk in order to separate the whey, just like the solids of your milk, and that butter fat. They call it butter fat. The fat that comes from that particular uh, milk of the cow. Cow's milk, remember, is actually just, it's an emulsion of fats and water. It's an emulsion, no, basically. So butter, once you churn the milk in order to separate the whey and your butter fat, that butter fat becomes your base for your butter. You just solidify that particular butter fat, and that's your butter. Tama ba? So again, don't ever think that I'm just a hospitality or culinary student or tourism student. What's technology to me? No, yeah, tourism students. You see all of these transport marvels like aircraft, for example, and you are pursuing a career in working with airline companies. You see those, no? Tingnan nyo yung ginagawa na yon, no? Yung naging contributions ng technology in terms of improving the safety of riding an aircraft, no? Um, Taking a flight, no? You see all of these technological marvels that can improve the quality of life of the passengers and even you as those pursuing a career in being cabin crew. Okay, so something like that. No? That's that's what we want you to realize. Okay, so that's it, guys. So if you agree with me, type in the letter A on the chat box. If you agree, I want you to agree with me. Okay, type A on the chat box if you agree with what I'm saying here in the chat box. If you're watching us live, So don't need to flood the comments section. I might it can affect my algorithm. Okay, the recommendation algorithm. Just use the chat box. I want you to use the chat box. Okay, so okay, technology is always important in our lives. Okay, so let's run through other and the history of technology, ancient times, for instance. Remember, I told the virtual instructor told you that during the ancient times, science and technology was separate. Science was only for philosophers, the intellectuals, they say, and the technology was more of the skilled workers. Okay, so how did these two things merge into one particular domain? It came about in again the 13th century in England, where a particular philosopher slash friar, Roger Baker, he created this theory that technology isn't just a skilled work or all anything, but it can be relating to can be a relation can establish a relation to science. Okay, so that's one thing about technology. Okay, being someone who can be able to create something out of nothing, inventions. Okay, so that in that time, during that time, uh, through the discovery of that theory, technological marvels have now been based on scientific facts. Okay, so and I could mention other stuff here, but again, through the 13th century, through the Middle Ages, we've seen all of these marvels. And in the 19th century, during the Industrial Revolution, we have mentioned in the previous example, which is Thomas Alva Edison. He got those theories from John Henry and Michael Faraday. Here, some more examples. Alexander Graham Bell, who invented the telephone, actually got his actually created his work out of the works of Hermann von Helmholtz, who studied sound waves. Okay, and also another example is Guglielmo Marconi, who invented the telegraph. Again, he gathered his works, he gathered his uh, invention through the studies of, again, other scientists like Heinrich Rudolf Hertz and James Clerk Maxwell, who who found out or discovered electromagnetic waves. Okay, and for instance, Hertz, we have derived one unit of measurement, Hertz, which is the frequency, no, and we attribute to that this scientist Hermann Heinrich Rudolf Hertz. Okay, so dapat pagkakatandaan ninyo yan, ha. Okay, all right. So let me move on to this farmers. Okay, so another point that I have shown you in the previous video is all about agriculture. Maybe some of you might be having relatives as who are farmers or owning farmlands. You know, it can be it is always labor intensive. You have to realize that farming is labor intensive, and it can be such a loss when these crops that you are trying to plant will be destroyed by, say, pests or the weather or some particular pathogen, for example. It can really devastating to both your investments and the output or the sales that you might gain from your crops once you harvest them. It's always a difficult one. And through the use of technological advancements like irrigation and also the invention of pesticides and herbicides and also fertilizers and all of these other chemicals that being applied to plants, we have attributed to the higher yield of our crops right now into today's technological marvels, and that's a good thing. But then the catch is there can be a negative effect on these technological advances that we see now in technology. That is why we'll be discussing the positive and negative effects of technology. If it's okay for you, let us hear from our virtual instructor, Miguel.
We have been discussing the positive effects of technology. It also has some negative effects. The results of technology should be studied carefully to see how they affect society and the environment. For example, gases emitted by cars and factories can pollute the air. Polluted air can cause many respiratory and heart diseases. If pesticides and fertilizers are not used properly, they might also cause damage or harm. Pesticides may be harmful, for example, if sprayed on fruits. Some pesticides may be absorbed by fruits and crops. This is why some people prefer organically grown fruits and vegetables. These fruits and vegetables are not sprayed with fertilizers and pesticides. Scientific knowledge should be used in making useful technology that does no harm to people and the environment.
Okay, so um, let's discuss positive and negative effects of technology. Thank you, Miguel. So we are very much aware of air pollution, no? Cars and fossil fuels, to be exact. Fossil fuels, burning of fossil fuels. Remember, we have learned that from high school that fossil fuels can contribute to air pollution, which can affect, say, the ozone layer, which can affect the environment. It can produce phenomenon such as acid rain or stronger typhoons. That that's a given. That's a given. But then how would you say assess those effects of these pollutants that in the air? Can they just single out that these only give negative effects? What if we can go back to how certain fossil fuels, when burned, can actually be beneficial to the atmosphere? Say again, for example, the ozone layer. Certain chemicals can actually contribute to the repair or the development of the ozone layer, though at a smaller scale. Okay, so certain chemicals can actually have very positive effects to the environment as long as they are within safe limits. Okay, so don't ever think that we see these factories uh, belching out this black smoke out of their chimneys that can harm us or whatever. But take a look at the other side of the coin. Say for example, coal, one energy source that we have witnessed here in the Philippines. That's something that many environmentalists might cringe on that. Coal, the use of coal as an energy source, as a source of your electricity. Like for example, the issue of coal mining and coal as an electricity source in Palawan, for instance, way back. We have seen all of these people protesting that no to coal, no to burning fossil fuels, use alternative energy sources. That's something that me as someone from today looking back and see, that's something that you're just hindering development. Okay, so it can be something that we should think about. No, and just to give you a point, um, coal now, using coal as an electricity source in plants, they have like modern technologies to further eliminate the output of soot, which is like how you burn coal for electricity. So these modern technologies can actually be beneficial to as electricity sources. No? And come on, guys, you have to realize that it's not all about like negative effects. There can be positives on that. Okay, next is all about pesticides, herbicides, fertilizers, these chemicals that you have been applying to your plants. Now, as a farmer, if you're a farmer, you have all of these chemicals on your disposal. Okay, and these chemicals, have been applied to your crops, no, and it can be beneficial to those plants. It can protect them from these pests, for example, and say we can also help them grow faster for in the context of fertilizers. That's a good thing. But here's the thing. Again, these chemicals can have also negative effects, okay, which can be harmful when these crops can these crops or these produce will be harvested once and then consumed. It can be harmful to humans. That is why um, I really want to emphasize on this also, especially wanting to share to you what I have learned from my college days based on these. Now, there is this so-called biotechnology that you might heard about biotechnology. No, and biotechnology was one of the topics that I had learned from learning STS back in college. Now, this course, you know, as someone who has thought about how we consume food, okay, what's the purpose of having GMOs or genetically modified organisms? Can they be harmful? Can they be beneficial also? There's this pros and cons. No, and that is what we will be discussing in the next few modules that we'll be having in STS. And that's one thing. That is why all of these with these pesticides, all of these GMOs, all of this biotechnology that has been applied to our crops, some people might shun away from them and resort to what they call organically produced produce, organically grown. Um, Good for the environment. They will label those good for the environment, um, safe, natural pesticides, natural fertilizers. We get it. No, you do you go organic if you want to, but think about what are those pros and cons that we will experience once you go organic. Okay, so again, the pros and cons, the positives and negatives of technology can be either beneficial to you or can be detrimental to you. It works both ways. Okay? Sige. Let me show to you another slide.
We have
Okay. So over here, it might look gross. No, this is organ transplantation. This is one controversial issue in the medical world. And yes, this particular procedure has saved a lot of lives. But then there are also ethical considerations on this whenever you do an organ transplantation or an organ transplant. Let us hear from Miguel what he has to say about this.
Are you familiar with organ transplants? In this process, an organ from a deceased person is transferred to an ill person who needs the organ. What considerations should be made before doing an organ transplant? For example, do you think the religions of the organ donor and the organ recipient should be considered?
Okay. All right. So again, I mentioned that having an organ transplant can have some ethical considerations in place before you even proceed with this procedure. You have to think about these negatives or positives or negatives that can affect you as an organ recipient, okay, and also with the organ donor, whether it's dead or alive, okay. So organ transplantation is a good use of technology, but then there's also dire consequences. One, for example, if the organ comes from a person who isn't compat whose blood type isn't compatible with yours, again, it can really be detrimental to your body because if, say, for example, you're type A, your donor is type B. Once you have that organ, your body will think that this one is a foreign object because it has come from a certain person with a different blood type, and basically will attack that particular organ with your all your T cells, all your cytokines, all of these substances, all of these um, your bodily substances that are in your body to fight off infections, basically attacks that organ that you are that you are receiving to treat your condition. It can be harmful. It can be fatal actually. So andun, that's the medical that's the medical aspect of that. But how about ethical considerations? Does the recipient's religion will allow that, or the donor will be allowed by his or her religion or his personal beliefs? It can be very controversial on that scale. Kaya naman, you have to uh, there are lots to consider. Like your doctor or your surgeon will really ask you of all of these bullet points. If these bullet points get checked, no, it can affect the procedure all in all. No, as organ transplant procedure will how it will run. No, and positive and negatives weigh in those pros and cons. Okay, so yeah, positive and negative effects can be beneficial. It can be detrimental. Okay, so let me leave you. Let me end this particular um, lesson with this discussion. Actually, I'm almost done on this. Okay, so give one technological product and discuss both its positive and negative effects. Okay, so as part of your interaction with this video, with this asynchronous session we have, I want you to answer this discussion question and answer through the YouTube comments in the comment section below. Please answer in the comment section below. Okay, so take your time to answer. Take your time to think of what particular technological product I might think of. Is that my phone or my gadgets, or say your non-stick pans? If you're a culinary student, are you amazed with these non-stick cookware or non-stick pans, non-stick casseroles, or whatever. So that's a technological marvel if you just realize that. Or how about another thing about, mm, say, your appliances, for example, your television or your, say, even something as simple as your electric fan. No. So what can be the positives and negatives of these products? Say, for instance, I'll just mention some examples like, say, your phone. You love your phone. It can help you communicate. It can help you, say, uh, connect with someone from other side of the globe. But then negative effects, it can make you addicted, no, or it can affect the way you live your life, something like that. No, just just give a short sentence discussion on the YouTube comment section. Okay, so I'm expecting all of that. So thank you so much for your inputs. Okay, so all right, I hope you have learned a lot from this particular module number 1. So that's quite meaty for someone like you. It might be meaty for someone like you who has never have gone through like science, technology, engineering, mathematics, or STEM strand rather. Yeah. If you're not a STEM student before, you might want to like shun away from this particular course. But then I'm now introducing this to you for you to realize that this is always important for you. Okay, so again, that ends this discussion on an introduction to STS studies. On the next synchronous week, we'll be discussing now our second module, which is Science, Technology, and Society and the Human Condition. In this module, we want to discuss how STS, Science, Technology, and Society, can affect the way we live as a human being. Every aspect, psychological, physical, emotional, spiritual, maybe, and also even in the interpersonal and interpersonal relationships. How can it affect your human condition? Okay, we'll discuss some books or some uh, some research journals might be appearing in this module. So prepare for yourself for more discussions, more interactive discussions on this module. Okay, so all right. So thank you so much for your time. I appreciate your presence again on on our YouTube channel. So again, if you're not yet subscribed to this channel, Kenneth Porio, why not click that subscribe button? And if you insist, bell icon is there for you to be notified with my latest uploads. Thank you so much for watching. I am Sir Kenneth Porio, your instructor for Science, Technology, and Society, saying goodbye, and we'll see you on our next videos. Bye-bye. Take care and stay safe.